This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
How the hell are ya?
Welcome in, folks. This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
What's going
we are
on,
your
roadies?
Yeah, come on, roadies. We are your hosts. My name is Ryan. This is Mike. Kulz at Kulz Sports at Fantasy Trucker. Find us on the X Machine, whatever you want to call it. We are on there.
It's Twitter, Ryan.
I don't
Ryan
know.
keeps calling it the X Machine.
We'll see, man. I'm just workshopping, so we'll see what Elon comes up with. But it's an interesting day in this age, Mike. What's going on in your life? You watching any new shows? Watching any good movies lately? What are you up to?
I watched season 1 of Fargo, and that was pretty awesome.
Oh, it's a great show.
Fargo, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Billy
pretty
Bob
awesome.
Thornton in there.
Oh, yeah. He's the man.
Yeah.
Watched Fargo. It was awesome. That's about it. I've been watching Righteous Gemstones on Sunday
I love
nights.
that show so much.
But yeah, that's it. What about you?
I just dove into the season 2 of The Bear, Chicago
Ah.
show.
Yeah.
I thought it was great, man. It's I think I'm on the last episode.
Oh man, you're on the last episode. I was gonna say it just gets so emotional for me. I feel like it should be more lighthearted, and it's just like this intense emotional drama. It's kind of weird.
Well, I just thought it was great cinematography, like the backflash to the holiday, where they're all at the Christmas party with a bunch of those cameos. Like that was a great episode. So I don't want to give away too much in case anybody hasn't watched it yet.
Maybe I should rewatch that because I didn't like that episode, but I wasn't like, I don't know. I just whatever.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but that's neither here nor there. We are here today to talk about NFC West. This is the divisional breakdown of one of the better divisions in the AFC. Did I say NFC West? I meant AFC West. I don't know what's going
AFC
on.
West. Yeah, you're thinking about Tate's.
Today. Yeah, so we are covering the AFC West, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. And we're going to dive in and let you know how we think this is going to shake out within the division, fantasy fallout, and where we have these teams finishing.
Yeah, it could be the best division in football. I think it's between these last two, the East and the West. It's 103 right now in Austin, Ryan. It feels like 107 with humidity. Just took a nice walk earlier. It feels so good. I love it.
Yeah. Does it feel humid out there? You know what I mean? Like, do you get sticky at all?
Just a nice warm hug. A warm blanket hugging you when you go outside.
Jeez. All right. Well,
amazing. But buckle up, baby. Yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody knows what to do. All right. So let's just get right into it. And let's talk about how we think these teams are going to finish in the division. Mike, I'm just going to take a wild guess. You got the Chiefs winning the division, don't you? I mean, they're the best team in football.
Yeah, I got Chiefs first place, 13-4. I got the Chargers and the Broncos tied for second at 10-7 apiece, and I have the Raiders at 5-12. I put the Chargers in second over the Broncos because I could definitely see the Broncos being 9-8. I'm just kind of high on them this year, so I want them to be 10-7. But when I went through, they certainly seemed to have some harder games. So yeah, I think I could see the Chargers certainly being in that 2 spot, but Chiefs first place in the division is -165. I don't know. I just think it's going to be another dominant year for the Chiefs, but even more so, I like the Raiders coming in fourth at -150. There's going to have to be a serious injury again, like we talked about, between Mahomes, Herbert, or Russell in order for the Raiders to beat anyone. I just think with Jacobs, it's even more of a mess now. I mean, like you're talking rumors about Devonta going to the Jets, which I think are bullshit, but I mean, it's just like one of those, they just kind of have the ick. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. Very much so. I have the Chiefs having an even better season as last year. Last year they were 14-3. I have them winning 16 games.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa!
Yeah. So big season out of the Chiefs. I think they're going to be dominant, and they're going to assert their dominance on the entire NFL.
Wow,
And
16
then
wins is not something to fuck with.
no, and I think
I
they're
mean,
going
you're
to do it,
talking about
man.
almost perfection, like almost the
And
first team
here's
that's
when I
you know.
was
What's that loss? Tell me your loss. Tell me your loss.
week 17 against the Bengals.
Oh my gosh!
Can you imagine if the Chiefs are 16-0 going into that week and Joe Burrow beats them yet again?
No chance. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you that there is no chance that if they're undefeated in that game, I will guarantee that the Chiefs win that game. They may not win in the playoffs, but they'll win that fucking game. They're
Yeah.
not gonna it would take in terms of motivation, man, like everyone's motivated in the playoffs, but the Chiefs not only have a chip on their shoulder with the Bengals and the whole, Burrowhead bullshit, but they dude, that's like chasing perfection
Yeah.
against like what's now your biggest rival. That would be so fucking fun to watch, but I would be all over the Chiefs in that game.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
I hope you're right. Like I didn't even think about it when I went through. I was picking off like losses, and if we have a season of Mahomes chasing perfection, I will be fucking locked into every game and so excited.
Yeah, I think if it's going to happen for the Chiefs, I think it's going to happen while Kelsey is still in his prime, which right now, we don't know how many more seasons he has, but this is definitely the clock's ticking for him. So I think they're going to have a near perfect season, and I feel like Joe Burrow is just going to yet again put a dagger right in the side of Patrick Mahomes. So anyway, I have
what
the
I'll say though, what
Yeah,
I
go
want
ahead.
to say to your Chiefs is, in order for them to go 17 or 16-1, they're going to need some serious development from your Sky Moores. Like that wide receiver room is going to have to be figured out. Tony's going to either have to be healthy or someone's going to have to step up in a big way into that role. Rashee Rice, they got the guys. I mean, Justin Ross, you hear him.
Justin Ross has been getting a ton of buzz.
Yeah, which makes me really ticked off because I had him in your dynasty league, and I fucking dropped him for some stupid reason. But I'm like rooting against him just because of that. Like I know it's gonna bite me. I just know it was a dumb drop, and that pains me so badly. But anyways, yes, go keep going.
Yeah, so I have the Chiefs at one. At number two, I think the Chargers are pretty locked in. I have them winning 12 games. They were 10-7 last year. And then I have the Broncos. Just like you said, I have them going 9-8. 9 wins for the Broncos, and the Raiders, I got 5 wins. So very similar to where you have the Raiders and stuff. And I'm
5-12. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much how it's going to shake out. I mean, the Chargers are better than the Broncos. The Broncos are going to be a lot better than they were last year. They went 5-12 last year. Like they're going to win more than 7 games this year. So I have them winning 9. It's hard to project wins in the NFL, but that's kind of the way I see shit.
I agree with everything you said there. And like I have them both at 10-7 because I just want the Broncos to be better than I think. I think I want them to be better. I had them probably at 9-8, but I do think they could be a lot better. Russell taking a huge step forward, and Peyton, I've said proven winners. I've said that whole spiel a million times, but I definitely think there's a little separation between the Chargers and Broncos. That being said, I mean, and it's preseason NFL. Those two could easily flip. It's like who really does know, but as of right now, I think we're on the exact same page with divisional standings.
Okay, sounds good. Well, then let's cut right to the chase and dive into the Chiefs here.
Chiefs.
They are the best team in the NFL, as they showed last year. They won the Super Bowl. They went 6-0 within the division last year. I don't know if I mean, I have them projected at going 6-0, but I could easily see the Chargers stealing a victory in LA from the Chiefs sometime during the season. I forgot when they play in LA, but that would be the one game I'd be worried about within the division. But last year, I mean, the Chiefs scored the most points in the NFL. Right now they have the number 3 ranked offensive line. And the number 16 defense. Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and say right now that they're not going to go undefeated in their conference because I do think it's that good. Like, I think the Chargers are going to be awesome this year, and I think the Broncos are going to, they just have to be better. I think Judy's such a stud. They're going to lose a game, I think, like whether it's at Broncos or at Chargers. Those are obviously the 2 games that they'll be on the hook. But even you know, home games, those teams are good enough to drop a game plan that, you know, double covers like whatever their game plan is that kind of stops Kelsey and makes him go elsewhere. And it's just one of those games. You never know, right? I just think the division so much better. I thought they were going to be so much better last year than they turned out. Obviously, we saw the disaster that the Chargers had. Both teams, really. Chargers and Broncos were a disaster. More so injuries for the Chargers than the Broncos just sucked, and it was coaching. But anyways, I got to think that they're going to lose one of these games. I mean, you could be right, obviously, but I don't know. The Broncos defense is so good, or it was last year.
Yeah, no, you're right. They have a great defense.
Who knows?
Yeah, anything can happen in the NFL, but I just think the odds are with the Chiefs, and I'd be willing to bet on them throughout the season. So
I mean, dude, I'm rooting for that 16-1 and Week 17 fucking Bengals matchup would be amazing. It would be the best game of the year by far.
Yeah, one big question mark with the Chiefs is the running game. I mean, everybody's drafting Isaiah Pacheco first. He's going right around the 28 mark for running backs. Jerick McKinnon's being drafted like RB 42, and then like CEH is being undrafted. But now the reports out of camp, CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is taking first team reps.
Yeah,
so like, do we even really know what's going on? Like,
I think it makes sense to give Clyde, like, if he looks any good in camp, then give him a shot. You spent the draft capital on him. Mahomes, expressed he's the reason why he's on the team. So if he looks good, I mean, like, put him in there and give him some reps. They don't like Pacheco is the guy in the backfield. That being said, like, I mean, it's not necessarily his backfield, right? Like, they're even talking about that rookie Deneric Prince, who he looks like he's a pretty high level, pretty high end receiving running back. So, like, he could easily phase McKinnon out. It's going to be one of those things where they're just going to have a stable of backs, and they're going to just whoever looks the best and makes them the better offense.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs have been so good at spreading the ball around that Isaiah Pacheco may be the best pure runner. It's not his backfield. So when you're drafting Pacheco, don't automatically think that he's going to be the head honcho of this backfield. You're going to see just as much McKinnon, just as much Clyde Edwards-Helaire as you do Pacheco, and then I'm sure they're going to work on this Prince guy. So just be ready for a full-fledged carousel of running backs.
Yeah, I mean, we've drafted him in some underdog best ball drafts, and like, I would tend to lean him in a best ball than I would in redraft, because they could be a Patriots-esque type committee where, like, one game he just goes off because he's hot and gets 2-3 touchdowns. But his rushing yard total is 775.5, and his rushing touchdowns is at 5.5. So, those Vegas numbers project that he will be the starting running back. But I mean, 775, that's not like crazy number to where they expect him to be his backfield, right? It kind of leaves that like,
I think that speaks to the Chiefs just throwing the ball a lot. Like, they just, on the grand scheme of things, they don't have a very high rushing percentage in the NFL. Like, They don't run the ball much. So, but someone that does catch passes for him, I mean, McKinnon, dude, he had 9 receiving touchdowns last year. He had more receiving touchdowns than Justin Jefferson. Like, even if
you love that stat.
I do. It's such an eye opener for me because Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the game, and Jerick McKinnon had more receiving touchdowns than him. So he was hot at the end of the year last year. Huh? Okay. Yeah. Arguing the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson thing. You love to do that. But no, I mean, McKinnon, man, if he picks up where he left off in that passing game, he's a value where he's being drafted. So what about these wide receivers? What are you feeling?
I want to say Mahomes.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
46.50.5 is where his passing total is. And then 35.5 is his touchdown total. What were his numbers last year? Do you have
52-50 throwing the ball, and I don't have his total passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
He led the league. I think it was over 50.
Yeah. So he had he didn't. He had 5250 yards and 41 passing touchdowns.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, yeah, like 5,040 is pretty elite level.
Yeah.
I don't know really what to say there. So yeah, I think I like the over in both of those. It's just, those totals, as you said previously, are a little bit lower because of the case of injury. He played 17 games last year. That's not necessarily going to happen, but at the quarterback position, you like to think that,
I think he showed last year too. He's a tough son of a bitch. Like I mean, everybody watched him play through those injuries towards the end of the season, and yeah, that was during important times. But just the fact that he could do that.
Exactly what my point was going to be is that like he's playing for a bye in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So like his motivation to be out there every week and win every week is because he knows he's going to be in the playoffs. So he's going for that first round bye because he wants to sit around while all the other teams beat them up late in the year. He sees the value there. So, for wide receiver room, very interesting room. You have Tony, who's obviously like thought of as going to be the number one. His ADP certainly reflects that. And then you have Sky Moore. And then you have Rashee Rice, and you have MVS. I think that Tony needs to show that he can stay on the field, first of all. Like the fact that he's getting another scope in his knee and he's going to miss time in camp, and I just don't like it. Like,
yeah, it doesn't give you a good feeling.
You need to be out on the field if you're establishing, how that chemistry and that offense is going to work. So I just don't really like it. It gives me a stay away type feeling. Sky Moore is the guy that I'm targeting in that wide receiver room because I think, he's talented. He showed a little bit of flashes of success last year. He has a whole nother year. He's got a year under his belt. Like end of story, whether that's chemistry or learning the offense or just being around the team. Like he's a year older than he was last year. So, this would be the year that the opportunities in front of him and he has talent. So it's like become one of Mahomes' guys and your career could be fucking made. So Sky Moore's the guy that I'm betting on based on his ADP. I just like that. You're not going to get burned if you swing and miss, but he will have insane upside and opportunity. After that, it's like Rashee Rice. What we heard Mendelson say about a rookie coming into the Andy Reid offense is extremely tough, and they have to be an insane talent. So does that mean MVS is going to have some production? Vegas has MVS at 625.5.
Okay.
40.5 receptions, 625.5 yards, and 3.5 touchdowns. So Vegas is saying MVS has a role and is going to be very impactful on this offense. And he's getting drafted, last.
Yeah,
So
he's
what's
basically
his
going
ADP?
undrafted.
Yeah, what's his ADP?
Hold on one second. He's
Uh,
going undrafted. He's in the 90s.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, like for underdog, like we haven't even thought of MVS, right? Like we're just
Yeah.
Terrace Marshall or some of these other guys late.
Yeah.
Like based on what Vegas has to say, it's like maybe we should be looking MVS's way a little bit, especially with the Tony injury. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. But well, what are your thoughts on the wide receiver room? I kind of gave you a long answer.
No, I mean that's fair. You were speaking truth there, and I agree with most everything you were saying. Usually, generally speaking, when you're talking about a murky situations within the wide receiver room or the quarter or the running back room where they're kind of undetermined, often is the smartest choice is taking the cheapest option.
I wouldn't. So I want to stop you by calling it murky because I don't know that it's murky like the Giants is murky. It's
okay. Well,
I know what you mean, but I want to
unestablished.
clarify unestablished. There's a lot of room for people to find roles.
Yes, but it is unclear as to what those roles are, and that's all I mean by that. So, in a situation where it's unclear what the roles
is a
are,
negative tone where it's like,
you're absolutely right. I misspoke. I shouldn't have said murky. No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. These guys have crazy talent, and this is the best offense in the league. It's not murky, but it is
Mahomes. It's like,
yeah. But so what my point was there is I'm willing to take a shot on Justin Ross as like a last pick. He's going undrafted. But
I didn't even mention him.
Yeah, Justin Ross. I mean, Justin Ross is getting a lot of hype during this offseason. Mahomes' father. It's always great to see when players' dads come in the picture to hype up players. But
whatever you have to say. So MVS is the fifth wide receiver getting drafted then, because Ross is ahead of him.
Yes,
like on underdog best balls and stuff like that. Like Ross is. So MVS is the fifth, and he's projected at 625.5. We got to revisit that, look into that a little bit more. But keep talking about Ross because I know I skipped over him.
No, yeah. I mean, he's just getting a lot of hype. He was been working out with Mahomes at his backyard field of his new house the whole offseason, like before preseason and stuff. And Justin Ross was the standout at all those workouts. Like, he's been looking good. Been getting great reviews in camp now too, as they're ramping up practices and stuff. So he's just someone to keep an eye on, man. Basically getting him for free with the opportunity of him being a legitimate option for Mahomes. I'm willing to take it. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's smart. He was a first round wide receiver, like surefire first rounder at Clemson until he got hurt.
Yeah.
So obviously that's the worry is like staying on the field. But he's been strong so far this postseason. He's a big 6'4". I think he's 6'4". Big receiver, which they don't necessarily have right now. And I that Mahomes would love to have someone like him. So that's another guy. Like I would probably take him as a late round keeper if you have that option. If you're in a keeper league, I would be looking at Justin Ross as one of the guys on the top of my list as
just to throw a dart at.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you don't even necessarily, depending on when your draft is, his ADP might skyrocket. But if you're going into the first week or so of preseason and your draft is coming up and he hasn't taken off yet because they haven't announced his role in the offense or if he even makes the team. So, if they say he's going to have a role in the offense, that's worth a shot. He could be one of Mahomes' guys and be a, 7th, 8th rounder the following year or whatever.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Kelsey is Travis Kelsey. We don't really need to dive in too much there.
No need.
As a beast. Expect another historic season for Kelsey, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's go to the Chargers.
Let's do it, man. The Chargers. I mean, I really hope that. I mean, Herbert just got the bag, right? He just got do you remember the details of this contract? Like, He's the highest paid quarterback.
165 mil, I think.
Yeah, I think he got like 150 mil signing bonus, like right when he signed into his bank.
That sounds right. Yeah, he's not hurting.
No. So yeah, man, Justin Herbert, I think this year will cement himself in the conversation with the best of the best. You know, right now it's between Mahomes and Allen and Hurts, but I think Herbert after this year is going to be in conversation for the number one quarterback, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he is, like, talent-wise. He's got every single tool you could ever ask for in a quarterback. So I totally agree. 44, 25.5 is his yard total, and 29.5 for passing touchdowns, which I would be all over that over.
Can you repeat what was the yardage total the Vegas has?
44, 25.5.
Okay.
Which he's gotten over that the last 2 seasons. I think you can count on it again. I think he's a guy. I would look at him as taking. I would definitely look at taking both his yards and over 29.5 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Last year we talked about how it was a poor year. He had 25, but the year before he had 38 and 31. I think he's going to be, dude. If they're as good as I think, he could be in the 40s. But I think he's going to be. I think you can be very comfortable with him at 35 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean he got 4,700 yards last year with only 4 games of having Keenan Allen and Mike Williams on the field together. Yeah. Like if they're healthy and Quentin Johnston is who everybody thinks he is, I mean it's not crazy to think he throws for over 5,000 yards this year.
Yeah, I think he should. I mean, he did it in 2021. I think he's gonna take a step forward. I think we're gonna see the best Justin Herbert that we've seen. Period. So
that's a good way to put it.
In that case, then I would take both of those overs 100%. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I'm extremely high on him. He could be QB1, you know?
Yeah. And one thing to note about the Chargers, we mentioned it before, but they have a new offensive coordinator in town, Kellen Moore, coming from the Cowboys. Like he really opens things up, fast-paced offense. So expect some high-powered games from the Chargers. I mean, Austin Eckler, he's one of the best running backs in the league, you know, over 100 receptions last year. He's going to be a free agent next year. We'll see what happens there. He's one of those unhappy running backs, but they just restructured his contract. So, yeah, I mean, he has, I think over the last 2 years, not any player has scored more touchdowns. I think he scored 18 last year and 20 the year before, or I have those numbers switched. But, I mean, he's a beast. What else is there to say about Austin Eckler, you know?
Nothing at all, yeah.
And then, go ahead. Do you have something else that you want to add?
No, I don't.
Well, just running down with the wide receivers. I mean, Keenan, Mike Williams, and Quentin Johnston. Obviously, Keenan Allen's being drafted first at wide receiver 18. Mike Williams is at wide receiver 26, and Johnston is down at 47. Who are you targeting out of these wide receivers? Are you swerving one, two?
I haven't gotten a single one. As high as I am on Herbert, I haven't drafted a single one of their wide receivers. I just don't really like Allen and Williams in general. So QJ would be the guy that I would go, but where he's at in his ADP, I don't really like him that much either. That being said, like, again, keeper drafts, like I'd probably look towards them if I could. I'm not gonna. A lot of the times you'll see people reach really heavily in that 6th round for keepers, and I hate doing that. I just think you're an idiot sacrificing that much at ADP for a keeper next year.
Depending on where your guys' round is with keeper situations, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's your round. That's yours. That's like a lot of people's too. Yeah, so depending on when your keeper round starts, like some people will just super jump the gun on stuff. Don't sacrifice ADP when you do that. I think he would be one of those guys that's going to go like immediately in the 6th.
Yeah.
But anyways, he would be the guy that I would get if I got any of them. Which,
Yeah, I
like
mean,
said,
some of these guys are just hard to draft. Like, I find myself never wanting to draft Mike Williams because of how hot and cold he is. Like, you just never know if you're going to get a usable game out of him.
yeah.
So
It's crazy how I am so high on Herbert, but his receivers, I'm just like, I like other guys at their ADP. I mean, I understand that
that's
they're
the best
going
way
to
to put it.
produce. They're going to produce because like he's going to be that good. But that being said, I like other receivers at those spots. So maybe QJ you'll see on some teams. I like Gerald Everett as like a late round potential late round snipe. But that's about it, man. I know that's really all I got to say there. I would like to bring up their yard totals. So Keenan Allen. So this is a good reference point. So Keenan Allen, 85.5 receptions, 875 yards, and 5.5 touchdowns.
Okay.
Mike Williams, 57.5 receptions, 800.5 receiving yards, and 5.5 touchdowns. So obviously Allen, more receptions, yards are close, same touchdowns. And then Quentin Johnson's at 575.5 yards. So just like using that as a reference point, I mean, that kind of says it all to me, man. Like there is no true 1,000 yard receiver there, according, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Keenan Allen's going to be a PPR monster. He guy catches a lot of passes, as Vegas says, with 80-something receptions. So, and Mike Williams is the big play guy. So, I think
what's
I think
interesting though is that kind of makes me like Herbert more, that he can just spread the field, go to anyone, rely on that. You know what I mean? Like, but in terms of fantasy and who will be on my roster, probably none of them. Maybe QJ.
Yeah. Fair way to put it. All right, let's move on to the Denver Broncos. They won 5 games last year, just an absolute dumpster fire. They bring in Sean Payton, ready to revamp things. We obviously see some positive regression from Russell Wilson. Jerry Jeudy, we're expecting good things from. So I think the big question is this running back room. Like, is Javonte, when he comes back, is he going to look like himself? Is he going to stay healthy? How involved is Samaje Perine going to be? Right now, Javonte is being discounted at RB29, and Perine is being drafted at RB36. So pretty close in ADP. And I don't know. I know that you have a certain feeling about that. So go ahead.
I mean, like, whatever. However you feel, there's value. If you think that Javonte Williams is healing as fast as the media seems, then like there's an incredible amount of value there. I just don't like Perine will be on my teams because I think like he proved that he can be a highly producing running back when Mixon was out a little bit last year, and they went and got him, and like Peyton's going to, like, you've seen what he's done in the past with a Kamara, Sproles. Like he likes to get that running back involved in the pass game, and that's exactly what Perine is. I just think the style matches up well. I think that the Broncos have the potential to be better than they were last year. So if they start out of the gate hot and start winning some games, and Perine's in that backfield, like, why rush Javonte back and why give him a huge role? Why not ease him into the offense? Like, they're not going to be in any rush. So I think Perine just buys that time. But what I do want to say about the Broncos is, like, I am going to have Broncos on my team, and that's because there is value in their ADP right now. Like, so many people got burned on them last year. Everyone thought they were going to be this amazing team and playoffs and all this stuff, maybe win the division, and like they got absolutely burned. Anyone that had a Bronco last year got burned. So because of that, there's some value there in ADPs. Like, I love Dulcich. He's one of my highest drafted players right now. Even Russell Wilson, like just him and Peyton together, and kind of having more of a another year there with Judy and Sutton, who I think are both extremely talented wide receivers. So they have everything there to where they can make some things happen. That being said, I won't be drafting Sutton unless there's serious value. But Judy, like I could see a world where Judy's on a team of mine. He's a freak. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's being drafted as wide receiver 24. He's a back end wide receiver too.
He's gonna be 1,000
yards. Way too low.
He's gonna have 1,000 yards. Like even Vegas has him at 925 and a half yards. So like Vegas has him as a 1,000-yard receiver. 70 catches, 1,000 yards, and 5 touchdowns is like pretty conservative in my mind for what he's gonna have.
Yeah, you made a great point. Damn near everybody on this roster is a value at ADP. Like Russell Wilson's being drafted at quarterback 18. He finished at quarterback 16 last year with a terrible season. It can't get much worse than 16. So you're getting him at 18 is like, I'll take that.
I love when people get burned, and then like there's value there. You know what I mean? Like,
you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. You just got to be willing to take a chance on him. So Jerry Jeudy's being drafted at wide receiver 24, like I mentioned. Sutton's at 46. Marvin Mims is down at 87. Mims is someone I want to mention because, I'm willing to take a shot on this guy. Especially with this Tim Patrick injury.
Through the roof. Yeah, exactly. Great point. Tim Patrick injury has got his stock just flew through the roof. We have some shares of him in best ball, and I'm so happy about it.
Yeah.
We're talking redraft, or I guess no, we're talking just divisions. So yeah, I mean, best ball, this is one of my favorite stacks because you can get Russell so late, and then you can pair him with, or you could even get a Judy early, but then you can get a Russell late and throw a Mims or a Dulcich in there. There's so many different options how you can stack that, and it's just you're getting it late, so you can go ahead and get the big guns early. I don't know. As I said earlier, it's weird because we both have them. You have them at 9. I have them at 10 wins. I actually have the Chargers at 10 as well. You have 12 for the Chargers.
12. Yeah.
So like we're definitely both higher on the Chargers, but when you look at our fantasy rosters, there's a good chance that because of value, we end up with more Broncos,
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And, I mean, the Broncos, they have a top 10 offensive line. They have a top 10 defense. Like, there's a reason to think that why these players are going to perform well. So, I feel like that's pretty great on the Broncos. I feel like we've covered that pretty well. I don't know if you want to add anything in conclusion before we move on to the Raiders.
Not really. I mean, just Sean Payton's is one reason to give you more confidence in that team. Russell Wilson is a winner. The two of them together are going to figure something out. And there's still a lot of talent on that offense. That defense, I think it was something crazy. Like in the first 11 games last year, if they would have scored 18 points per game, they would be 10-1.
I love that stat so much.
Dude, so I love it too. It's one of my favorite stats. It's just crazy. So, 18 points. So I don't know. I expect a big jump from the Broncos this year, but we can briefly talk about Raiders because quite frankly, like I just have such a ick on that team in general. Jimmy G's not a franchise quarterback. He's good enough to win games. And the Raiders, if all goes well, could be a team that he could succeed on. But you already have Josh Jacobs. Like, Josh Jacobs is one of the running backs that I'm actually worried about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a long list of running backs that are upset with what's going on, and he's definitely one.
But he's one that I'm actually worried about. You know what I mean? Like some of the other guys. I mean, now Jonathan Taylor, but had you would have said before all this Taylor mess, like Jacobs was probably the one I was worried about more. Like Dobbins doesn't. I mean, I just don't know that he has as much leverage. Just fucking play football this season and figure it out after this. Like, have a great year and then you could talk. But as of right now, you haven't really done shit, bro.
And Jacobs is coming off of his best year being one of the top running backs. So
Right. So on
like
the
he
opposite
has a lot of
side,
leverage.
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, he does because of his performance leverage. Let's call it that, right?
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
So he has he arguably has more performance leverage than Jonathan Taylor just because of his season last season. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
bet on himself, successfully won, and now they're just not ponying up. So he can't be happy. I mean, anyways, talk about the Raiders to me.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't like the Raiders this year. I mean, they have the number 2 worst ranked defense right now. Terrible defense. They have the second toughest schedule out of any NFL team going into the season. Like they have a bottom 15 offensive line. Like they're not a good team. And I don't think they're going to do well at all. Davante Adams is unhappy. I mean, you're still willing to draft Davante, right?
Yeah, I think so, just because he's so fucking good. But
yeah,
he would have to to me in the middle of the second round.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like, I'm not going to take him like beginning of the second. Like, if I had the 12-13, like I would maybe not go him there. Depending on what the board looks like. I don't know. We'll see what happens in mocks, but like he would have to slip to me in order for me to take Devonta because of the uncertainty.
Yeah, absolutely. Adams is being drafted as wide receiver 7 right now.
Who's like, just name off 8 through 10.
8 through 10 is, give me 1 second here.
Sorry, I thought
No, you're good. I just didn't have that pulled up. 8 through 10. I have it right here.
So this Fantasy Pros that we looked up earlier has him at 8. So it has him at 8. So it has Adams, Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, 8, 9, 10, and then like Waddle. I would probably take him. I would probably take Amon-Ra before Adams. And I'd take probably Adams before Waddle. I mean, Adams is so good, right? Like we've seen last year how he was on a bad team and was top 5. Like when has he not been a top 5?
You can't find it. It's non-existent.
Like, is there value there? Yeah, probably, but still, it's just such a mess, and he's not happy with the Raiders, and there's a lot of new parts there. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the number 2 wide receiver on the team is someone I want to talk about. Is wide receiver 57, Jacoby Myers.
Yo, buddy.
Yeah, my buddy Jacoby. Man, he's being drafted real low. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with Davante Adams. We know that he's very heavily targeted in the offense, but we don't even know as of right now if Hunter Renfrow is even going to make the team. There's a lot of bad talks about that during camp. So I think Jacoby's going to be involved. So taking a shot on him late in drafts seems like a good idea to me. And then the tight ends, Michael Mayer seems like the guy you want to own in Las Vegas, but I don't know if it's really going to matter. I don't know if he's going to have a good year. It's hard for rookie tight ends to really make a difference, let alone on a bad team.
Yeah. Great point about Myers. Like, I like Myers. I don't think he's a great wide receiver, but I think he's like sure-handed, and you saw him last year with the Patriots. Like, he can catch a lot of balls. I don't know that he's going to like make amazing plays with those balls, but like if there's yards there for him, he'll take them. So that's promising because, something could happen with Devonta where he becomes really unhappy and they trade him and whoa, now you have a wide receiver 1 at a crazy ADP. So that's interesting. It definitely is. I would like to start getting him in some best ball drafts because of that. Redraft, like, that's so far down there. I can't even really talk about it, but yeah, probably late round flyer. You can really take those on anyone. I would have to kind of, I think we should rattle off some mocks here, just like off camera, just to hammer out like a few, you know what I mean? Just to like see what the groupings, they got to be a little bit different than underdog. That's where our brain has been so much.
Yeah, definitely.
And I kind of like to keep it there. But what I wanted to talk about, Hunter Renfrow, like I could see him just leaving the NFL and starting like a Christian cult with Dabo Swinney, because Dabo's such a weird fuck too. Like I could see that.
Yeah, definitely. Man,
I
I
hate
thought, man,
Dabo.
Renfro was he was just a very good security blanket for quarterbacks. I don't know what happened, man. I thought he was going to be good for quite a while, so a little disappointed to see that. But I think that pretty much covers it for the AFC West. Let's
Well,
Go ahead.
Let's move back to Jacobs real quick. Like,
Okay.
if there's a holdout there and he doesn't play, their backup running back Samir White, who sucks.
Yeah, they're going to be.
They would
signing,
have to get one of those guys. Yeah, good point. So
yeah,
no need to speculate on that. But anyways, yeah, go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, no, that's good. So in wrapping it up, I have the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders.
Same.
Pretty clear to me that it's going to be in that order. Take a look at the odds and plant your flag.
Yeah. I don't need to really throw any kind of summary here. Chiefs are alpha dogs really in the entire conference. So yeah, I think Herbert takes he's going to have an awesome year. I think the Broncos are going to bounce back, and I think the Raiders are going to be fucking terrible.
All right, well, that about does it. Stay tuned the rest of this week. We got some big stuff coming up. We got some best ball draft on Friday. Might have a special guest for that episode. Be on the lookout. And everybody knows what to do.
Buckle up. I'll buckle up.
Go ahead.
No, it's cool.
Go
buckle
ahead.
up.
Okay, buckle up, everybody.